Yeah, I know, right? 6 minutes for a SpongeBob video. What a loser. Wait, what do you mean look down? Ooh, piece of game.
What a time to be alive, seeing all the gaming news about the Nintendo Switch working to be the best-selling console. The Nintendo Switch 2 is on the horizon, starting pre-orders, making us think that didn't happen, and starting pre-orders, we have some things to clear up.
I never would have known.
This is the Nintendo Switch system. Some call it a comeback story, some call it a glorified Android tablet. The original Switch was a way for Nintendo to distance themselves away from the Wii U, taking quite a bit of inspiration from the gamepad, but redesigned it to be more friendly, fix the advertisements, and most importantly, the games. The Nintendo Switch has a vast library of games ranging from Super Mario Odyssey all the way to Zelda, and this has better third-party support as well.
The Nintendo Switch was becoming this all-in-one powerhouse. You want to play the PS4? Not anymore.
But the system has been clearly showing its age over time, with games like Sonic Frontiers being cheese-rated the hell out of just to get playable on here. And with the hype of the Steam Deck and ROG Ally as major competitors, they needed to act, and fast. That's not what we needed. Introducing us to the time where Nintendo were preoccupied with whatever this was, going after everything and anything that looked at them the wrong way. But this was all to prepare us for the best launch for a Nintendo console. The Nintendo Switch 2 is now here, and finally we have a worthy successor to the toaster with a screen. So what is a Nintendo Switch 2?
What are you talking about? We're looking at it.
This is the Nintendo Switch 2, and I have a few questions. Questions like, how does it improve over the original? What's the good and bad? And finally, is it worth it? I feel like those questions are reasonable. Nintendo didn't give me a review unit. I had to sell my sweat and tears for this day to come, so I could be as harsh as I want.
When you put like that, I worry sometimes.
It's obvious that they're marketing this to replace the Switch. If the name didn't give it away, I don't know what will. Having its own library, being a boost of power, and doing something that the older models can't. Now, the name is a weird choice. It feels like a development placeholder, not an official name for a game system. But I mean, I understand why they chose this. The Nintendo Switch 2 is a continuation of the Switch. Everything that the Switch could do, the Switch 2 can do as well. Along with customers seeing that the name and being familiar with this and understanding right away on what this is.
The same console with nothing new, says the non-gamer buying milk and bug spray in the same trip.
I've heard people say that this has nothing to do with being a new console, it does nothing new, you wouldn't need it, and there's no point in buying it. Well, don't ask me, I'm only the guy who's bought this system and has personal experience with it. I wouldn't trust myself either. I put more trust in a person who has no clue what a Nintendo is, so listen to them. It's an answer only time can tell with a name. And also I let that person try the console and they're a bit more on board. It's all about presentation on if the console is even worth buying. If the console has terrible controllers, then I'm out.
I also forgot to mention that I have high tolerance.
Now, the issues with the Switch 1 is that you had stick drift and the controllers were small, uncomfortable to hold, the Joy-Cons were not good for first-person shooters. Well, the Joy-Con 2s had fixed every problem except for one. They're quite a bit bigger to hold, which is a lot better. The buttons and sticks feel really nice, so what? What did they not fix? They didn't really fix the stick drift, in which the Joy-Cons are connected by magnets this time, and they feel beyond satisfying to snap on. No more sliding the controllers the wrong way, no more dust and debris buildup, no more plastic problems, no more shorting the pins to hack the system. They thought of everything. My specific system has a thing where there's no feeling the left trigger, but I'm sure that's a me thing and they're plotting to make my experience worse.
I'm sure it's just a slight defect from manufacturing. Now, I would be really shocked if they removed something from here.
They also removed the sensor at the bottom of the Switch 2 Joy-Con.
Who do you think you are?
The infrared sensor was just kind of there. It didn't really get used a whole lot, and when it did, it was just okay. They added the mouse functionality to make up for it, if that makes you feel better. And adding a special C button. Ooh, I wonder what this does. Well, don't mind if I do.
What's this?
The Nintendo Switch 2 introduces a game chat feature similar to the PS5 screen share feature to be able to stream each other's screens and a chat party to chat with friends, all without playing the same game. And the final thing is the feel of the Joy-Cons. These feel like there's some sort of rubberized layer instead of just being raw plastic, which feels really nice. The whole console has this effect going on. The console has some things added that would greatly improve the experience. The screen size is significantly bigger where I don't have to squint to tell who I'm playing as in Mario Kart. The console is overall big compared to the older model, and there's a charging port at the top to make up for the awkward moments trying to charge but while still playing the game at the same time. A camera access for motion controls when the Switch Joy-Cons have those built in, which they've been doing that even with the Wii remotes, and the Xbox 360 Kinect being as old as dirt, and they think this is a good idea to have this now.
Leave them alone. They're just trying to make a motion control camera. I don't know what Nintendo's reasoning is. I can only answer for Microsoft.
And if you're worried about running out of controllers to play, well, all of the Switch 1 controllers are compatible with the Switch 2.
Finally, I can rest in peace knowing my fishing rod can still work with it.
The Joy-Cons, the Pro controllers, Nintendo even learned a lesson to include a full 256 gigabytes of storage compared to the 32 we've gotten before. Not to forget the Switch 2 enhancements for Switch games, which is going to make this console even better. I beg to differ. I would never seen that dedicate an entire section just for the handheld aspect, but here we are. Playing handheld mode has features that you might not find while playing on a TV. The main thing that I've experienced that was really different was the bigger screen and the smoother gameplay. Playing Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury allows the game to run at a higher frame rate, and it looks amazing on here. The Nintendo Switch 2 doesn't have a whole lot of exclusive games at the moment. The console launched alongside Mario Kart World, another break in the tradition for mainline Mario games as a launch title, but I can't complain. And even games such as Split Fiction, Cyberpunk 2077, Bravely Default HD Remaster, Street Fighter 6, Hogwarts Legacy, Sonic X Shadow Generations for the launch lineup as well, just as long as it released before the second day in.
So by that logic, I could just go ahead and say Katamari Reroll was a launch title for it.
Mario Kart World is the only game I have exclusive for the Switch 2, unless we count the enhanced games here. The Switch 2 games are loaded pretty much identical to the Switch 1. Just another situation like the 3DS and DS. The load times are super quick here, and since we have backwards compatibility, there's a decent amount of games that are playable on here, so if you only got the console, then don't worry. The Nintendo Switch 2 has enough power to handle really demanding games. I'm surprised seeing Cyberpunk 2077 on here when it was a laughingstock on the PS4. With Mario Kart World being an open world experience, this possibly couldn't be done before. The scope has increased for all these games. Look at Donkey Kong Bonanza, that one is something that's never been done before. What's wrong, Grandpa? You seem to be struggling playing the new Kirby in the Forgotten Land. Now, the backwards compatibility aspect here, pretty much every game is compatible. Going on to the eShop will let you know if the game works here or not. And as a part of their agreement, they've changed how digital games work on the Switch 1 and Switch 2. No more being able to share games across consoles easily, they have digital game carts now, which are the most annoying and stupid things I've ever used on here. I'll keep my old Switch on standby.
You never know when I'll get crazy just wanting to play something worse.
Which I've seen that PS5 and Xbox Series X give backwards compatible games enhancements no matter if it's supported or not. 4K upscale, frame rate boost, more stable experience. I was excited to see which games had the same feature. I should have known they weren't that cool. Playing just any ordinary Switch game here is identical to playing this on the original model. I mean, the eShop says it right there. No visual upgrades, no smoother performance. I'm serious when I tell you, playing Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze has no difference playing this on the Switch 1 over the Switch 2. Which is barely a difference from the Wii U. Which I had a cool idea, maybe games like Fortnite, Rocket League, and these really demanding third-party games would have a bump in visuals or performance or even stability. Rocket League has nothing changed. Fortnite wasn't available for a quick minute until a native Switch 2 port, and I would hate to see how Sonic Colors Ultimate is on here, which they've been rolling updates quietly for Switch 1 games to take advantage of the new hardware, which I would gladly be waiting for this to happen, just for a more stable experience and slightly better picture quality. You know, if they offer free updates going for existing games, then they make special enhanced versions costing $10 more for the same results. This is mostly the same as DS having DSi functionality. These can play on the original model, but for the best experience, you want the big boy system. Now, the virtual console games are still dead but replaced by the subscription model we know, but they've gotten slightly better over time. All the previous consoles work from the NES all the way up to the Nintendo 64, but now including GameCube games exclusively for the Switch 2, which this isn't going to be groundbreaking like 4K upscaling or anything, but the Switch 2 is in its own league. Not really a primary console for your living room, but not really a handheld that could just get thrown off to the side or something like that. The Switch 2 takes notes on what the issues with the Switch 1 and fixes them, and even takes some cues from the big boy consoles.
It improves pretty much everything of what the Switch 1 had done before without including stuff that makes it feel a bit unnecessary. Now, would I keep playing my Switch 1? Well, yes, are you crazy?